look at me. I even brought notes just so I could kind of know what I'm talking about. We should say we did think of going down to the men's, but this weather is too much of a Russian roulette to sort of risk such a thing. I know this is Crypto Coast. I was talking to the beautiful Lauren, and it seems both a very kind of ambitious project, but then it also just seems very logical that there is a market, there is a need for it. It's blockchain. Just for the average Joe six-pack, what would a blockchain be exactly?
Blockchain is a distributed shared ledger. It's the trail that Bitcoin leaves behind, if that makes sense. So it's a receipt of all transactions that ever happened on Bitcoin.
Okay. All right.
So, but it has loads of interesting features and things that kind of seem simple, but kind of take care of loads of big problems around how we communicate, how we exchange value. So.
Well, we live online, and certainly business is generally happens online now more than anywhere else, and there is a kind of a. Well, I feel with technology, it's moving so fast. It's slightly kind of scary. It's thrilling, and but it also needs, as Facebook proved and many others, it needs to have some sort of shape and some sort of gathering point and some way of being able to, connect the dots.
Yeah.
And that's what this is really.
There's nothing new about having a tech hub, right? So the idea is when you focus on a specific geographic area, you can you get more bang for your buck, right? So you incentivize people to work from there. So we're looking at why this area. Like, if you have it in one central place, one place benefits, and it's only all in one space, and it's non-inclusive or it's slightly exclusive. So I mean, the whole coast down from Dunleary down as far as Wexford and Rosslare, it's all joined up by a train line. It's great places to live. What we're going to be doing is kind of facilitating technical retreats for people I know from blockchain experts from all over the world, attract them to come here to live and stay here. So we're looking at initially, our headquarters is going to be in Dunleary. Very soon in the new year, I want to get a co-working space in Greystonian, and then have a residence so we have tech expertise and people who've been through the process of setting up blockchain startups. So we're going down to try and go down all the way down the coast, Gorey, Wexford, and sort of see if we can shake the tree and sort of see who's around and not everyone wants to come into Dublin City Centre for a meetup or wants to, kind of put their head above the parapet. So it is kind of it affects so much stuff that we want to see everyone come out and kind of understand, take the fear away from cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. It's coming, it's happening.
Right.
I've no doubt that it's happening. I haven't been wrong on it yet. I'm if you see the people I'm talking to, I'm getting heads of banks coming up to me and sort of, thrusting their cards in my hand. You know what I mean? I'm just a dude from here slinging pizzas a year ago.
Right.
So.
Well, that idea too that we are perfectly located in many different ways, and so that idea that this could be the new sort of San Francisco or the San Francisco of
why not? I've travelled a lot. I've lived abroad a lot, and I keep coming back. Been called Greystonian's home since early 90s. In one way, shape, or form. I haven't lived here all the time. My family are all based out here. And it's why not here, and I kind of feel like such a mug getting on the train and going into town, spending an hour and a half to go in to sit on a desk with my laptop. I mean, you know what I mean? What is the point in that? So like the technological revolution, the internet revolution that we're kind of still going through, and social selling and all this social media and all this. There's no need to be in an office in town. I mean, and the other thing, I firmly believe that all those big kind of middle-heavy tech companies, they're all going out of fashion, man. The next wave of the blockchain startups are just going to absolutely decimate them. Like, it's going to happen really quickly.
Right.
You have no idea. Insurance companies, banks, these people, there's going to be a big drop-off of people who are necessary in those non-value-add industries. So. Right. So, like, forewarned is forearmed, I guess, is the thing. Again, it kind of can be scary if you think about it, but I mean, it's got to be. We just got to kind of work together to figure it out. It is in its
own way, its nature, in that naturally water flows where it's easiest to flow, and it'll accumulate where you make a pool, and So that idea with even with any kind of business, there is a like obvious patterns, and often when you look at how technology is running around the world, it would seem
the
sensible next step.
The other big thing about this area is the amount of people I know that are underemployed, working for big tech companies. Like, I've worked with them all. I mean, I used to work in a couple of big tech companies out here, and everyone's just like, going in and killing time, what I mean? And it's like, well, if you just want to get into something, if not now, then when, you know what I mean? Like, and there's a lot of talent here. I think people are kind of through the worst of the being in negative equity, maybe just get their head above the parapets and just take that leap into something
it's the difference between paying somebody else's mortgage and just going for your own place. This idea that you're working at a desk for somebody else's gain, really, and it is often very it's very kind of demeaning, and it feels pointless ultimately.
You know what I mean?
But there is, Ireland has had like 9 out of 10 big kind of tech companies are based here, and
same with pharma and healthcare companies. Same, so
obviously it's an attractive place for these for companies of that nature to exist. So that would sort of bode well for blockchain then.
Well, I mean, all those big tech firms have some eye on blockchain, and within the next few months, I think we'll see some. They're being a bit, I won't say cagey, but they're being very careful about how they enter into it, and they want to see kind of other people make mistakes, and they want to sort of let the dust settle.
Right.
But in the spring, I think you'll see a load of mergers and acquisitions. There'll be a big spending spree by big tech firms buying up whole, companies, lock stock, just to kind of get into the game. So that's going to start happening. But if you think of it, like, say, I always say this, I mean, if Google or Amazon were to release a currency and you had an option to be paid in Amazon dollars, right?
Right.
Now, if you knew that you could get a 30% or 20 or 30% spending benefit on Amazon if you use Amazon dollars,
right?
What would you prefer to be paid in? You know what I mean?
Sure.
So suddenly, like, it sort of seems like this big, weird, far-off thing until you make it just into or like, for example, we're
practical. It's a
we're
practical
talking about
application.
making a local currency for the crypto coast, just to kind of give people. So on your phone, you'd be able to pay for a coffee here, for example, for 60% of what you would pay normally.
Right.
Because you're not using banks or intermediaries, it's just a peer-to-peer exchange. As long as you know that currency is worth something cryptographically, and so this is where you get back to the blockchain and all that. Just kind of at this point, just trust us. You know what I mean? Don't worry. I mean, unless you're techie, and then do get into it completely. But I mean, it's like believe me. You don't believe me. Believe Bill Gates and believe Richard Branson and John McAfee. But whoever else, like all the big heads of all the big tech companies are completely understand where it is,
Well, I think for a lot of people, for example, the Bitcoin kind of, as sort of passed them by, they didn't realize exactly what was involved, and people have become millionaires and beyond using Bitcoin, and that is the kind of, that is part of that idea that you would not have to use, regular Joe six-pack cash that and money in banks that you can.
Money is only money evolved. Money hasn't always been. The system of money we have now seems normal now, because that's what we inherited, but there wasn't always the one set way. I mean, the gold standard was removed in 1937 or something like that. So there is nothing. The promissory note that you have, it's only a promise.
Well, it's delayed bartering, really. You're kind of promising a certain amount of value for what you're giving to somebody else, and they use it again for something else.
Money exists as a representation of debt.
Right.
That's all it is. So by its nature, money isn't wealth. It's debt.
Right.
So if you can think of it, this is where it gets a bit funny. But okay, so there's some big ideas at play. But so the whole thing is that you're digitizing real-world assets. So you can have something, let's say, for each one of these grains of what's the sesame seeds? Yeah?
Maybe,
Each of them, you could have. Imagine this was a digital currency. Okay, so you could have, say, this is Bitcoin. This is all the Bitcoin that will ever exist. There can never be more of it. Right?
Okay.
Each one of these has an identity, and you know the transaction history of each one of them. Now, it might seem, and that's where you get these other different flavors of cryptocurrency. Sure. And they all fulfill slightly different functions.
Okay.
So,
depending on your life and depending on what you...
it's going to be very normal. So instead of, if you want a service, a product or service in a specific industry, you don't suddenly have to pay people on the back end for the luxury of using their money, right? So say you have a multinational industry, a multinational company, no matter what, you just tell people to pay you in your tokens. So they go onto an exchange, they buy your tokens, they pay for your service with your tokens.
Right.
Then you have your tokens, they execute all the little transactions, and you don't have any clearance at the back, full audit trail, all this stuff.
Well, I think what's going to be attractive to all that is that it's basically cheaper, and that's really the bottom line. That for people, it's just going to make things.
It is. This is when you start thinking about money, right?
Right.
And what something is cheap or expensive. So if it's more fair representation of value, which is what the way to think of it.
Right. Yeah.
So suddenly stuff is expensive when there's people making money in the middle.
Right.
For doing nothing.
Sure.
That's why insurance or banking is
warehouses and all that kind of stuff, and you're paying for a certain degree.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll talk to you about. I'll do a follow up about insurance.
So, how would you sort of envisage with Crypto Coast? I mean, is there a sort of a 5-year kind of feeling, or is it a 10-year feeling? I mean, technology moves so fast. It's
we've got to do what do what's in front of us, right? I mean, I want to be able to kind of. Love to think that we could potentially roll it out into other countries if we identify a good model that works here.
Right.
Put Ireland on the map. I'd love to get people coming home. That'd be awesome. Like if people would move back to Ireland because it's a good place to be. I'd love that.
Yes. Yes.
That'd be cool. But yeah, I mean, like Silicon Valley, Crypto Coast. It just sounds about right. There's a place in Switzerland called Zug. Crypto Valley Zug. Now, I'm not going to say I wasn't heavily influenced by them, but it's like, don't steal an idea if you think you can do better, And I think, and we have advantages here. And I'm friendly with the guys; they're cool, and they've been very, very nice about. I mean, I'm sure I spoke to the founder and asked if it'd be okay if I kind of. He was fully behind it, so we drank a beer over Skype to that one, and
nice.
So he's cool with that, and it's like. There's no begrudgery in the industry. It's all so small still. We all know each other. So, the caliber of people that I can attract to come here, you have no idea. They're absolute savants. About this stuff. We're like geniuses. And the one thing we do in Ireland very well, I've been 10 countries in the last 4 months, whatever. We do parties, but it's a bit,
I have heard.
I've seen. No, but so we do that well. So it's without being too paddywhackery and sort of Ireland, shamrocks and shillelaghs. It's still it's a great place to be.
Yeah.
Live anywhere between here and Rosslare, it's 2 hours to the airport. We'll see about sticking an airport in Newcastle.
Yeah.
That's the next one.
Well, so for those who are kind of interested in some way, as you say, kind of coming home.
Gotta keep an eye on the website or join the. We're still kind of developing all that. We're signing the papers tomorrow to become official limited companies. So up to now, it's been largely been a marketing exercise. We're moving into the ferry terminal building in Dunleary. There's the new business campus going to be with 24 million euro investment, and we'll be in there kind of from day one. Pretty much, we're going to be one of the guys behind it are also looking at crypto projects, so there's a nice segue. Dunleary is a fantastic town, has all the amenities we need to kind of kick this off. So we're going to certainly base.
But your main base will be Greystonian ultimately. You could have the whole main street to yourself.
It'll be kind of nice. I want the Ormond.
The Ormond would be great.
That's
that'd be a nice place. Yeah.
Or anyone has any thoughts? I mean.
Well, I should say, just by wrapping up, because you're quite I'm not as halfway anyway near as smart as with technology as you are. Is there a chance within the next 10 years that our Hoover will kill us while we sleep, or is there? Are we getting?
So it depends how you do it, but
I don't trust that toaster.